Hi mates, welcome to Visible Envy. Today I'm gonna start with The Last Station, a sci-fi mystery short film which does not exist yet.
Elena shivered. The cold was biting, seeping through her layers of clothing and chilling her to the bone. She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to ward off the relentless wind. The wind whipped around her, tearing at her coat with a ferocity that seemed almost personal. It howled through the empty station, a mournful sound that echoed off the walls and sent shivers down her spine. It carried the taste of rain and the gritty remnants of a forgotten city, a city that had once been vibrant and full of life but was now just a shadow of its former self. The rain mingled with the dust, creating a thin layer of grime that clung to everything it touched. Before her stood the station, a skeletal silhouette against the gray sky. It loomed over her, a relic of a bygone era, its once grand architecture now crumbling and decayed. The windows were shattered, and the doors hung off their hinges, creaking in the wind. "Last stop, Junction 47, the faded sign proclaimed, its paint peeling like old wounds. The station was deserted, a ghostly reminder of the past. The sign swayed in the wind, its creaking adding to the eerie atmosphere. Weeds sprouted between cracked asphalt, reaching for the rusted tracks that once carried trains full of passengers. Now they were overgrown and forgotten, nature slowly reclaiming what had been taken from it. A rusted clock face, frozen at 3:30, stared down at her with hollow eyes. It was as if time itself had stopped in this place, leaving it trapped in a perpetual state of decay. The air hung heavy with the silence of abandonment, a silence so profound it seemed to hum. It was a silence that spoke of lost dreams and forgotten memories, of lives that had moved on while this place remained stuck in the past.
Timothy. The name slipped from her lips, barely more than a whisper, carried away by the wind. It was a name that held so much meaning, so many memories, both happy and painful.
Elena clutched the worn photograph in her hand, her fingers tracing the edges of the faded image. It was all she had left of him, a tangible connection to a time when things were simpler, when they were together. Timothy, her brother, grinned back at her from the photograph. His smile was infectious, full of life and joy, a stark contrast to the desolation that surrounded her now. His eyes, bright and full of life, were the same shade of blue as the sky had been once. They sparkled with mischief and hope, a reminder of better days, a sky she could barely remember. The world had changed so much since then, the vibrant colors of her memories now faded and dull, much like the photograph she held. Taking a deep breath, Elena stepped across the threshold of the station. The air inside was even colder, the silence even more oppressive. It was as if the very walls were holding their breath, waiting for something to happen. The air grew colder, the silence deeper. Her breath came out in frosty puffs, each one a small cloud that quickly dissipated into the stillness. She could feel the weight of the past pressing down on her, a heavy burden she had carried for so long. She was alone, yet the sensation of unseen eyes followed her every move. It was an unsettling feeling, as if the ghosts of the past were watching her, judging her. She could almost hear their whispers, faint and indistinct, carried on the wind. This was a place of shadows and echoes, a place where time itself seemed to hold its breath. It was a place that held secrets, secrets that she was determined to uncover. She knew that somewhere in this desolate station lay the answers she sought, the key to understanding what had happened to her brother. Elena walked along the platform, her footsteps echoing in the vast emptiness. The platform was deserted, a stark contrast to the bustling station she had left behind. Each step she took seemed to amplify the silence, creating a symphony of solitude that resonated in the cold night air. The air grew thick with the scent of ozone, raising goosebumps on her arms. It was as if the atmosphere itself was charged with an electric tension, a prelude to something extraordinary. The fog swirled around her, creating ghostly shapes that danced in the dim light. Ahead, shrouded in a haze of steam and shadow, a train materialized. It emerged slowly, almost reluctantly from the mist, its form becoming clearer with each passing second. The train seemed otherworldly, a relic from a bygone era that had somehow slipped through the cracks of time. It seemed to shimmer, as if woven from the very fabric of the mist itself. Hesitantly, Elena approached. Her heart pounded in her chest, a mix of fear and curiosity driving her forward. The closer she got, the more she felt an inexplicable connection to the train, as if it was calling out to her. The train was ancient, its paint faded and peeling. It bore the scars of countless journeys, each one etched into its weathered exterior. The sight of it filled Elena with a sense of nostalgia, a longing for a time she had never known. The windows, however, glowed with a strange internal light. It was a warm, inviting glow that contrasted sharply with the train's dilapidated appearance. The light seemed to pulse with a rhythm that resonated deep within her, a call she couldn't ignore. It pulsed with a rhythm that resonated deep within her, a call she couldn't ignore. She felt drawn to it, as if the train held the answers to questions she hadn't even thought to ask. Her mind raced with possibilities, each one more fantastical than the last.
What is this place? Elena whispered to herself, her voice barely audible over the hum of the train. She felt a sense of disorientation, as if she had stepped into a different reality.
As she reached the nearest door, it hissed open with a sigh. The sound was almost human, a weary exhalation that seemed to welcome her aboard. She hesitated for a moment, then stepped inside. The air inside was warm, filled with the scent of old leather and something else, something indefinable but strangely comforting. It was a scent that evoked memories of forgotten dreams and distant places. On a plush velvet seat lay a single folded piece of paper. Elena picked it up. The paper was worn and fragile, as if it had been handled many times before. She unfolded it carefully, her hands trembling with anticipation. The note was written in a spidery script, the ink faded but still legible. It was a message from the past, a relic of a time long gone. The words seemed to shimmer on the page, imbued with a sense of urgency.
Find the key, and time will bend to your will. The words echoed in her mind, a tantalizing promise of power and possibility.
A chill raced down her spine. The implications of the note were staggering, and she felt a surge of excitement mixed with fear. What did it mean to bend time to her will? And where was this key she needed to find? This train, this note, it was all connected to Timothy. She could feel it. Timothy, who had disappeared without a trace, leaving behind only cryptic clues and unanswered questions. She had to find him, and she knew that this train was the key to unlocking the mystery. Determined, Elena resolved to uncover the secrets of the train and find the key. She would follow the trail, no matter where it led, and she would not rest until she had the answers she sought. As the train began to move, Elena felt a sense of purpose. The journey ahead was uncertain, but she was ready to face whatever challenges lay in her path. The whispers on the platform had set her on a new course, one that would change her life forever. Time, she realized, was not a fixed entity. It was fluid, malleable, and she was about to learn how to shape it to her will. The key was out there, waiting to be found, and with it the power to rewrite her destiny. As she gazed out of the window, the landscape passing by in a blur, Elena felt a sense of anticipation. The journey had just begun, and she was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. The whispers on the platform had awakened something within her, a drive to uncover the truth and reclaim her future. The train disappeared into the distance, its destination unknown, but Elena knew that she was on the right path. The whispers on the platform had guided her here, and she would follow their lead, no matter where it took her. Elena stepped onto the train, the door closing behind her with a soft click. The interior was more opulent than she could have imagined. Rich velvet seats lined the carriage, illuminated by flickering gas lamps. The air hummed with a low, thrumming energy. The train lurched forward, picking up speed with an unnerving swiftness. Elena gripped the armrest, her heart pounding in her chest. The world outside the windows blurred into a chaotic kaleidoscope of color and light.
This is unbelievable.
Each carriage she passed through was a different world. One moment she was in a bustling marketplace, the next in a silent library with shelves that stretched into infinity. Time seemed fluid here, the past, present, and future swirling together like watercolors on a canvas. Fear threatened to overwhelm her, but Elena clung to the note, her only guide in this surreal journey. Timothy needed her. She had to find the key, no matter the cost. The train screeched to a halt, throwing Elena forward. The sudden jolt was unexpected, and she barely had time to brace herself. She caught herself on the armrest, her heart racing. This carriage was different. It felt almost surreal, like stepping into another world. The walls were covered in mirrors, reflecting her image back at her 1,000 times over. Each reflection seemed to tell a different story, a different version of herself. But it wasn't just her reflection she saw. The mirrors seemed to hold secrets, glimpses of other realities. In the depths of the glass, other scenes flickered to life. They were like windows into her soul, revealing moments she had long buried. Moments from her past, both joyful and painful, played out before her eyes. She saw herself as a child, laughing and carefree, and then as a teenager, full of dreams and aspirations.
Timothy. His name slipped from her lips like a whisper, a ghost from her past.
She saw Timothy, his laughter echoing through the carriage. It was a sound she hadn't heard in years, a sound that brought both comfort and pain. His laughter echoed through the carriage, a painful reminder of all she had lost. It was as if the mirrors were mocking her, showing her what could have been. A painful reminder of all she had lost. The memories were vivid, almost tangible, and they cut through her like a knife. Guilt twisted like a knife in her gut. She had made mistakes, and those mistakes had cost her dearly.
If only I had been more careful, more attentive. If only I had seen the signs, the warnings that were right in front of me. If only I hadn't made that one fatal mistake. The regret was overwhelming, a constant weight on her shoulders.
The memories were a torment, a constant reminder of her failure. Each reflection seemed to accuse her, to hold her accountable for her actions. Elena squeezed her eyes shut, willing the images away. She couldn't bear to look at them any longer, couldn't face the reality they represented.
I can't lose myself in the past, not now. She knew she had to stay focused, to keep her mind on the present. I have to focus on the present, on finding the key and righting my wrongs. There was still hope, still a chance to make things right. She began to search through her memories, looking for clues, for anything that might help her find the key. Each memory was a piece of the puzzle, a step closer to redemption. She found an old photograph, a picture of her and Timothy. They were smiling, happy, unaware of the future that awaited them. She held the photograph close to her heart, a reminder of what she was fighting for. She couldn't change the past, but she could shape the future. With renewed determination, Elena vowed to find the key, to right her wrongs, and to create a future where she could finally find peace. The train began to move again, and with it, Elena felt a sense of purpose. She was no longer a prisoner of her past. She was the architect of her future. As she looked out the window, the scenery passing by, she felt a glimmer of hope. The journey was far from over, but she was ready to face whatever lay ahead. The train disappeared into the distance, the tracks stretching into the horizon. Elena knew that the path ahead would be challenging, but she was no longer afraid. She was ready to embrace the future, to find the key, and to unlock the life she had always dreamed of.
The train lurched back into motion, the mirrors fading as quickly as they had appeared. The next carriage was filled with the soft glow of twilight. A gentle breeze rustled through the leaves of apple trees, their branches laden with ripe fruit. Beneath the trees, a familiar figure played.
Elena, you came back!
Timothy, younger than she had last seen him, laughed as he built a tower of wooden blocks. He looked up, his eyes widening in surprise.
Timothy.
Elena's heart ached with a mixture of joy and sorrow. She longed to run to him, to hold him close, but something held her back. This wasn't real, not truly.